formidable robot.
Prototype Fredbear. I thought I would never see it again, but it's back. I am sorry for that strange start up to a story like this, but something similar to my original experience happened recently. Let me explain. So many people may remember my previous post where I downloaded that fucked up copy of Five Nights at Prototype Fredbear's from that sketchy site, which resembled Game Jolt in a way. Well, unfortunately, I don't think I learned my lesson from last time, and that's curiosity to blame for that. You see, the original site was taken down originally, but someone else managed to recreate it. For those thinking that Five Nights at Prototype Fredbear's 2, the sequel to the original game, is free from whatever the first game was involved with. Unfortunately, this site targeted that game as well. I don't know who's producing these copies, but they really need to stop. Let me just stop rambling and tell my experience. Five Nights at Prototype Fredbear's 2 takes place after the first game, with the protagonist escaping the building featured in the game called Fredbear's and with the murderer, specifically Jack Kennedy, on the run. Typical Five Nights at Freddy's inspired stuff, and the setting of this game this time was the cartoon production company called Joseph's World Incorporated, clearly a location inspired by another project by JosephTheSnail, which is called Joseph's World and is where that lost episode under the name Joseph's School Day came from. I downloaded this game and started playing immediately, instantly hit with a warning about the usual stuff. This is a horror game anyway. I can tell that this game was still going to that Five Nights at Wario's approach with the style involving Google images and stuff instead of the original source filmmaker style from the first game. Just like the first game, I was hit with a newspaper from July 10th of 2018, with a disturbingly realistic image attached about a minor urban explorer discovering a strange figure found in the basement of the previous location. The image was disturbing as it was a real-life black and white image of a basement staircase leading down into the darkness with a figure in the middle, which seemed to resemble Prototype Fredbear with black sockets and human-like eyes. Trust me, I was already scared of Prototype Fredbear enough thanks to my experience with the first game, and this didn't help. I checked the official JosephTheSnail Wiki, and I now know what this is meant to resemble. This was confirmed to be a virus version of Prototype Fredbear, which looked like a gruesome mess with flashy holes and a flashy-looking gaping mouth with double layers of sharp teeth. Obviously this is a horror game, so I can't be shocked by this, but something about the human-like eyes being added to characters like these seems to unnerve me to death. But I don't want this entire story to be me rambling about how unsettling a small little detail is, so I will move on to the gameplay. I was now thrown into the office, which looks a lot better than the original one in the first game, judging by how there are no doors to be distracted by. To explain it better, the doors in the first game didn't look attached properly and can be distracting to look at, but I am not the guy who criticizes small details in video games, so I don't care. As I was checking the cameras, the phone guy, better known as B-Man Z, B-Man Z, or just B-Man, addressed what I will do, and trust me, the phone guy in this game actually explained how to play the game rather than excessively throwing the game's tragic lore at you like the original game did. B-Man succeeded at teaching me how to use the lockers and stuff. I actually liked the second game more than the first game. I can tell it used the same MFA file as it had similar gameplay elements but altered for the sequel, and they were original too, very creative with how you used corresponding lockers to avoid the threats. I did notice two new characters, Agent 49 and Bon Bon. Agent 49 was probably more unique compared to Bon Bon, as he was basically a 2D sprite, unlike the others, which were 3D models in Blender. He was hand-drawn, and the disturbing part about his appearance in the game is how, in the exterior camera, you can actually look at his body. I can tell that Agent 49's AI was recycled from Jack Kennedy's Spring Freddy's AI from the first game, as he behaved similarly, but Agent 49's mechanic was more disturbing. As instead of looking at the control room camera in the first game to avoid Spring Freddy, you actually have to sit and stare at the exterior camera, which had Agent 49's body hanging from the tree, which was very graphic and unpleasant to look at as he had a branch impaled in his chest. Luckily during my nights, I was able to avoid Agent 49 often, and it wasn't long until I made it to the 4th night. I was trying to make it to the custom night, like the original game, specifically the version I downloaded in the first post, which is where the messed up stuff started to happen, but I don't know yet. I think this will be different, maybe the disturbing changes will be happening on the 5th night or something. I really wish I were joking when I said that last part, but what did I expect? This wasn't an authorized copy of a game by Joseph after all. I beat the 4th night, just hiding in the lockers, avoiding the Vengeful Ones. The Vengeful Ones are the group name of the antagonists of the series. Like, I think I am being dramatic, but I still fear uttering his name as I think it would put a curse on me when I do so. But Prototype Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Bonnet, Lolbit and many others who venture out to murder Jack Kennedy. It was now the 5th night, and it was the same as the other nights, just the AI becoming more aggressive. Then it happened. As Prototype Fredbear showed up in one of the cameras, there was static as he left, and in the static intervals, I saw what was shown. It flashed, but there was an image of what seemed to be a cat, not the one belonging to the now deceased user named Eerie Whispers on Tumblr, rest in peace to her. But a cat mangled similarly to her cat. I don't really want to explain the details or share a picture of it, and yes of course I shared a picture of it, and before I wrote this story, I sent my evidence to the police as they are still actively searching for the suspect who is responsible for the disappearances of these cats. They briefly questioned Joseph himself but understood that he had nothing to do with it, and their search had gotten a bit easier thanks to the reports by many players who encountered a robotic yellow-looking bear with a purple bow tie and hat. Back to the game itself, after that image flashed, the game started to become corrupted. The game just flashed back on the camera with a now black background and Prototype Fredbear staring into the camera, similar to the unused photo but more unsettling. Instead of the pure white glowing eyes, Prototype Fredbear has black sockets and small human-looking eyes. His mouth was gaping open with human-like teeth. His expression looked more like a permanent smile, far more unsettling than what I saw, as he actually looked identical to his in-game appearance but similar to the virus one with the eyes. He was just staring at me before twitching, and more images of dead cats started flashing rapidly, and there was even one that made my horrified expression become a bit saddened. It was a cat similar to my cat, and I instantly got out of my chair and headed to where my cat was. He was there, just eating his food, and eventually stopped to turn at me, noticing my saddened yet relieved expression as he ran up, and I picked him up, then hugged him tightly. I am glad he's okay, but soon enough, it wasn't long until I heard footsteps outside of the house. My eyes widened in horror as I noticed that this wasn't a nightmare. It's here. Prototype Fredbear arrived back at my house, and with quick action, I immediately held onto my cat and ran into the room, slamming the door shut and covering up the windows. I also turned off the computer immediately. I didn't care if it wasn't 6 a.m. yet. I didn't want to keep playing the copy, and then I huddled in the corner. My cat was there in my lap, holding onto me. For some reason, he didn't fear what I was doing with him. Normally my cat would be confused at such sudden movements, but he was aware of my fear. It is as if my cat is aware of Prototype Fredbear's presence, as I noticed his tail becoming puffier and puffier, and I can feel the cat shivering as I hold him. Suddenly I heard the front door open, and I heard what seemed to be mechanical and satanic laughter along with footsteps. They were getting closer to my room. I immediately grabbed my phone, started to dial 911 and reported that the creature was in my house. The operator didn't dismiss my call as they noticed the shakiness and fear in my voice and immediately stated that they would be on their way. Soon enough, I saw the door slowly open, and I saw it. Prototype Fredbear was standing there, looking directly at me with that predatory smile of his, dripping with saliva and blood. Its sockets were pitch black, and it had human-like eyes like what I saw in-game. I held back the urge to vomit as I looked down, despite being an animatronic and how it was not in addition to his original model in-game. It had a physical groin hanging out, completely exposed. I know stating such detail wasn't necessary, but I have never seen prototype Fredbear with this detail, and I found it both disgusting and unnerving, as during my nightmare and other similar encounters, it looked identical to his in-game appearance. Prototype Fredbear got closer to me as I held my cat tightly, and of course I saw it bending down and reaching towards my cat, and I had no choice but to do it. I used the pen I used to mark my calendar and stabbed the creature in the groin, with blood now soaking the pen. It started screaming. Rather quickly I attempted to write on a random sheet of paper to see if it was still usable. The ink was still there but was now fading away, the blood now ruining it, and I felt prototype Fredbear's metal hands grabbing onto my shoulders as I did this, and to escape, I went on ahead and stabbed the creature in one of his eyes. It let go of me, and I ran out of my room. I heard the creature state the following in the most unsettling and raspy robotic voice ever.
You will regret that.
As I turned at the hallway, I saw it staring at me with its remaining eye, blood now leaking out of the wounds. In lucky timing, with the cat still in my hands, I heard police sirens outside of my house, and I made sure to place my cat down and told him to hide immediately. He obeyed as I locked prototype Fredbear onto the ground, making sure it doesn't escape again and making me seem like a dumbass who needs to be locked up in a mental institution. The police entered my house, and turned around to see me grabbing the creature's neck. One of the police officers was shocked at what he was seeing, not me strangling the monster, but the monster itself, and one of the officers was unnerved by the appearance of the creature. I was told to let go. One of the officers asked me if I was okay, and I said yes. I just felt some pain around my shoulders as it held onto me aggressively. Prototype Fredbear stood up and attempted to escape from the house through the back door, and one of the officers shot through its leg. The creature screamed and fell to the ground, and then as it was trying to escape still, the police started to shoot up the creature. One of them even went as far as to walk up to the creature, and with as much force as possible, he slammed his foot down onto the creature's head and crushed it, making a bloody mess despite the robotic nature. It was dead. After that incident, prototype Fredbear's remains were thrown into the forest to rot away for good. I went to my computer and uninstalled this version of Five Nights at Prototype Fredbear's 2, and even when the file came back, I just straight up factory reset my computer, and it was gone. Easy as that, and I just want to take a break from gaming altogether due to this moment. I had a few nightmares about this incident, some of them involving what the creature would have done to my cat. I checked the news, and something caught my eye. There was a report with the reporter residing in detail about a house being set on fire in my neighborhood, and there was an image attached of that house on fire, and next to the house was prototype Fredbear is there in the forest, very much visible, with his back turned, and his head turning and staring at the camera next to the house. I snapped a photo to make sure I wasn't crazy, and it was exactly what I saw.